Right friends, welcome back to S&T Health and Environment. For 22nd week, we are going to discuss on two topics. ISRO launched Made in India Space Shuttle for the first time. Then second important point is substantial increase in dust storms across the world. This is as per World Meteorological Organization report. This World Meteorological Organization is Geneva based. And look at the first one. ISRO launched Made in India Space Shuttle for the first time. You may ask what is meant by Space Shuttle. This Space Shuttle name originated from NASA's program. This was started by NASA in somewhere around 1980s and subsequently abandoned around 2010. Space Shuttle is nothing but partially reusable spacecraft system operated by NASA, and this program was launched, as I have already told you, by NASA in 1981 and subsequently abandoned after around 30 years. And you may ask what exactly is reusable launch vehicle technology demonstrator by ISRO. I will explain you a little later. Before going into it, let me put forth these points. India successfully tested for the first time indigenous space shuttle made by Indian engineers and Indian components, and this was built by Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, Thiruvananthapuram, and basically it is the carrier. That means it is a small model, you can say. It is the scale model or otherwise. So it is the smaller version to launch satellites into space. That means once the original version of this small model comes into operation, maybe after 10 years or 12 years down the line, then subsequently what will happen, these space shuttles can put satellites into the orbits and come back to the ground. And I would also like to tell you, it is similar to an aircraft and combines the complexities of both the launch vehicles and aircrafts. And if you go through this slide, it will be very clear to you what is the present scenario and what will be the future scenario once this reusable rockets comes into force. First one is the present scenario is rockets carries satellites. All of you are familiar with the PSLV, GSLV. These are rockets. They carry various satellites, and after putting the satellites into space, they become useless. Rockets cannot be reused. Once they go into space, then they will become useless and they will become space debris. That means once the satellites are put into space, then rockets are not reusable. One time only these rockets are usable at present. So this is present scenario, and once the ISRO's experiments comes into reality, maybe 10 years, 15 years down the line, what will happen in future? In future, the launch vehicles will go into space and place the satellites into intended orbits and come back to ground again. That means in future, these rockets will act like aeroplanes. That means they will go to the space, launch the satellite and come back to the ground once again. That means once again they can take back the satellites. So that means rockets can be reused once this technology comes into force. As rockets will be reused, the cost of launching satellites will reduce substantially. But these days are quite far away. Don't think that this will happen immediately. It will take so many years from now. But anyhow, a good experiment is done by ISRO by launching indigenously made technology or indigenously developed technology. And another point I would like to tell you is, while building the rockets, almost 80% cost is in hardware. So therefore, once this reusable rockets comes into force, then what will happen? There will be lot of cost savings, and at the same time, it will also reduce debris in space because rockets will be reusable once this technology comes into force. However, these tests on IsroB TD are the baby steps in this direction. So I think from this PPT it is very clear to you Then salient features of this reusable launch vehicle technology demonstrator, it is a small scale model, 6.5 meters long, weight is just 1.75 tons. The cost of the program is 95 crores and the experiments took place over a period of 10 years. As I have already told you, this is designed by Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, Thiruvananthapuram, and it attained peak altitude of around 65 kilometers and travelled at supersonic speed of Mach number 4.78. That means its speed is 5 times the speed of sound. All of you are familiar with Mach number. Mach number indicates how fast these rockets are moving, and here the Mach number is 4.78. That means the speed of this technology demonstrator is 4.78 times the speed of sound. Then it landed back on virtual runway in Bay of Bengal at around 500 kilometers away, and it used special material carbon composite and heat resistant silica tiles, because when the spacecraft is re-entering into the atmosphere, it has to face lot of heat because of the friction with the atmosphere. So to face that much quantity of heat, this high resistant carbon composite and heat resistant silica tiles were used. And all of you are familiar with the accident of Space Shuttle Columbia. Kalpana Chawla, Indian American astronaut, died in 2003, and basically the failure of heat resistant tiles and thermal coating was responsible for the failure of American Space Shuttle Columbia, which resulted in the death of Kalpana Chawla along with other astronauts, right? And if you come back to the other aspects, only 4 countries have done this type of experiments earlier: United States of America, Russia, Japan and France. And USA retired its space shuttle program in 2011. Russia tested long time ago, and this IsroB TD is a baby step in reusable launch technology demonstration. And not only that, it is a big leap in the new technology development by ISRO. And as the vehicle is going to operate in various Mach speeds up to 25, that means supersonic and hypersonic ranges, then developing it is very difficult, and at the same time defining a configuration for hypersonic wave flight is a really difficult task. As I have already told you, heat resistant silica tiles, not only that, special material carbon composite were used by ISRO for developing this technology demonstrator. And the final version will be ready maybe 10 to 12 years down the line. But testing the technology developed by ISRO itself is big achievement for ISRO. And the other experiments going on in the world, if you look at them, one is the Blue Origin experiment by Jeff Bezos. All of you are familiar with the New Shepard rocket. This Blue Origin, this organization belongs to Jeff Bezos, and this New Shepard rocket, this is doing experiments. And if someone talks about the New Shepard rocket, this is experimental rocket, experimental reusable rocket. Similarly, if you look at the SpaceX program of Elon Musk, here Falcon 9 rocket, this is also doing experiments to test for reusable rockets. So the future may be reusable rockets, and it appears that the SpaceX as well as Blue Origin may come up at the first instance, and anyhow India's program and experiment is a step in the right direction. Let us hope all the best for ISRO scientists for this experiment. Look into the second and another important event, that is a substantial increase in dust storms across the world. This is as per World Meteorological Organization report. This World Meteorological Organization is headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland. And what is meant by dust storm? Dust storm is basically massive amount of particulates matter in the air. When the air contains finer particles of sand and dust, and when people breathe it, what will happen? They directly go into lungs and lead to respiratory problems and heart diseases, and these dust storms are blamed for the death of 7 million people every year due to poor air quality by the World Health Organization. And if you look at the increase in incidences in Middle East, there is a significant increase in the sand and dust storms during the past 15 years in Middle East. Please look into this slide. These are Middle East countries, and Iran and Kuwait are the worst affected, largely because of sand and dust blowing from Iraq and Syria. Please look into this slide. These countries are Iraq and Syria, and because of dust and sand blowing from Syria and Iraq, worst affected are Iran and Kuwait. Kuwait, please look into this slide. This is close to Persian Gulf. So, because of sandstorms emanating from Syria and Iraq, Iran and Kuwait are worst affected. And United Nations Environment Program predicts that Iraq is most likely to witness 300 dust storms in a year within 10 years, up from around 120 this year. And you may ask, what are the reasons for rise in sandstorms in Middle East? First and foremost is mismanagement of land and water due to the conflicts in the region. All of you are familiar with conflicts in Syria and Iraq. Then climate changes across the globe are taking place. In Iraq, flow of rivers is reduced because of dam construction in the upper regions, and this led to the disappearance of marshy areas and drying up of lakes, because of which lot of dust is taking off from marshy areas and lakes, right? And another important point is sediments left behind due to the drying up of rivers. That is another reason why several dust storms are taking place in the region. Then desert areas, of course, major source of sandstorms not only in this region but across the world. And moreover, unsustainable mining, that is one reason. At the same time, oil extraction and agriculture, along with the military conflicts. All of you are familiar with the conflicts taking place in Iraq and Syria, and these are worsening the situation. And if you look at Syria, agriculture is not being done because of a civil conflict in Syria, and because of which agricultural lands are becoming barren because of internal conflicts in Syria. So these are the reasons for increase in sandstorms, and this is leading to spurt in diseases in affected countries. And if you look at the situation in other regions of the world, Aral Sea is shrinking. You may ask, where is Aral Sea? Aral Sea is basically situated between Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. Please look into this slide. This is the region of Aral Sea. And please look into this slide. Aral Sea is shrinking fast, and you can see the comparison here. And because of shrinking of Aral Sea and drying up, what is being happened? Dust problem is increasing in Kazakhstan and Mongolia. Please look into this slide. And at the same time, sand and dust from Mongolia and Gobi Desert. You may ask, where is Gobi Desert? Please look into this slide. Gobi Desert is situated in two countries, Mongolia and China. Because of sand and dust from Mongolia and Gobi Desert, dust is reaching China, Korean Peninsula, that means North Korea and South Korea and Japan. And not only that, storms from Sahara Desert spreading meningitis spores throughout Central Africa. Right, please look into this slide. This is the region of Sahara Desert in Africa. So because of all these reasons, sandstorms are increasing across the world. Right friends, with this let us conclude S&T Health and Environment. Have a nice day. Thank you.